success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, you Realtor Growth listeners. Today I have Sabrina Guler. She is the co-founder of Techvestor and Superhost Labs. Thank you, Sabrina, for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
So, something that I think, we're seeing more and more at the end of 2022 is interest rates are going up. I don't know if I should jump in the market. You guys actually allow an avenue to test the market or get in the market without taking on, too much of the burden of the uncertainty.
Yeah, so a mini quick intro. We are a real estate fund that buys single family homes and we turn them into short-term rentals, aka Airbnbs. We are in 9 different markets all over the country where we've seen some markets do really well, like Scottsdale. And then we've also seen some markets slow down at the current rate. For instance, Poconos, Pennsylvania, which is like a mountain market. We've definitely been impacted by interest rates, but we are still buying homes that need to be remodeled. So that's an avenue that we take, obviously with some hope that interest rates will go down in the next couple of years. We can either refinance those and hold on to appreciation, but our fund focuses on cash flow primarily. So even with the high interest rates, we're still very much so cash flow positive.
Understanding 9 markets. Sometimes understanding one market can be tough for people living there looking to purchase, but understanding 9 markets, and I'm assuming you're touching a lot more than 9 markets just to kind of get a feel out there. How do you do that?
So I have a background in tech. I used to work at Apple. I was in software engineering. And when I first got into real estate, I had that exact issue. I didn't know what markets to invest in other than my own backyard, and San Francisco was a terrible backyard to invest in. So I actually built an algorithm in a software that runs every 15 seconds, and it pulls every MLS listing that hits the any market in the United States. And we run it against our pro forma to see what kind of is the lowest hanging fruit and what markets seem viable. So that's how we start. So I've underwritten thousands of real estate markets, thousands, just through data. Obviously that's automated, it's robotic. So by the time I get the results of anything that's like a 10, 20% cash on cash, even 5, right? We look at anything that's positive, you'll find like Detroit, right? Or markets that are maybe not so Airbnb friendly. Airbnb is very aesthetic, right? You need beautiful homes and the cute picket fences and the swimming pools and all that good stuff. So you still need a human to run all those markets, which we have a team that does that. But that's actually how we got down to the 9 markets. And also with the market being a moving target the last 2 years, those have changed. We've entered markets, we've bought incredible homes, and those are not markets that we invest in now because of interest rates and other reasons.
Well, that algorithm that you have right there, is it something that, you said you've underwritten 1,000 or over 1,000 properties, and I think you guys carry less than 100 currently in your portfolio, right?
Yeah, we're around 65 under contract. I think we're pulling 10 more in by December. So
okay, so the other ones, was that for investors? Because you have this algorithm that's looking across the U.S. Was that something that you were charging people for assistance on kind of knowing where they can invest, or was it simply just for tech investors?
It's just for Techvestor, and we consider it to be like a part of our secret sauce.
Okay.
We were like, you know what, this is why you should be or take a look at investing with us passively through our fund for this reason, because we have exposure to markets and we're extremely data driven. But yeah, markets have changed, right? Like Scottsdale was a great example. I think in 2020, 2021, there were 100,000 over ask in cash with 50 different people doing that at like a 2.5% interest rate. And now, the game's changed. It's a 7, and, you have more options. Prices have come down. So So yeah, we are data driven, and we look at markets every single day. And there's always something new. There's always something coming in and out. It's very interesting to sit at this 30,000 foot level of the market and see everything at once. And there's a lot of markets that people aren't talking about.
What's one or two of those markets? You kind of threw it out there like, oh, I gotta get this question. What's one or two markets?
An interesting market that we just discovered was Galena, Illinois. And it's a mountain market. We actually, as a fund, we focus on your typical 90-minute drive out of a major metro. So for instance, like one market that we love is the Poconos because it's 90 minutes away from New York. You get this natural inbound traffic. People just want to get away. And so that's a part of our strategy with looking at markets. We try to find like where people want to get away for the weekend. It's not a great long-term approach, but it's great for inbound traffic from major metros. So that's a random example that I'm sure not many of your listeners have heard of.
No, that's great right there. Well, let's rewind a little bit. So you talked about that you were in the digital age and everything like that in the Bay Area, but who was a young Sabrina growing up? Was she into computers, real estate? I mean, what was her situation?
So I've always had tech and real estate on the map somewhere. I'm born and raised in New York. I lived in Manhattan until I was 22, and I had my real estate license there. New York was a super cutthroat market though, and very different from a lot of other markets in the country. And then I've had this inner desire to go to school. So went to Arizona State, studied marketing, had this like incredible curiosity with digital marketing with tech. And I kind of organically grew my way into technology. I climbed the ladder in many different corporate jobs and found myself at Apple. And I loved Apple. It was a great company to work for. But later on in my tech career, when I had the money to put into property, my love for real estate came back. And I started investing in properties on my own. Airbnb happened to be kind of an accident. Like I bought a second property near my parents, Airbnb'd it. It hit the ground running, especially during COVID. Arizona was like one of the only states that was still open. And at the time at Apple, there was like an internal investing group, like people who work for Apple, they kind of either put their money together or they kind of talked about investing. And I was in there talking about my journey, buying homes, doing my own thing during COVID, working from home. One thing led to another. People were asking me to help them. And then after a couple of LLCs and JV deals, it just didn't make sense, right? I had too many people asking, kind of snowballed into a whole other thing. And that's when I met my business partner and we decided to go the fund route. So long story short.
Let's rewind a little bit to the 22-year-old. So you're in Manhattan, you got your real estate license. I know you said that was cutthroat. I mean, was your family into real estate, or you just saw as an opportunity out there to kind of get into real estate?
No, my family was never in real estate. I think it was always, I've always had a fascination for interior spaces. I myself love my home space. Like I'm someone who's always loved living alone. I love investing in my home space. I like making it feel homey. I love different types of architecture. So honestly, just a me thing. And in New York, there's so many fun, funky spaces that you get to see that have some pretty heavy price tags on them, and they're unique to themselves. So that was a really fun market to explore, and at a very strange time. I mean, we're talking 2013, 14, 15. Which, was after the recession and things were starting to stabilize and come back up. And then, getting into San Francisco and learning about different types of real estate. I probably took a year to really understand the market again as I grew in adulthood. I'm currently licensed now. I don't actively practice. It's just to represent myself. I also took some time to get into the commercial space, so I have some multifamily background as well. So it's always kind of just been in my life out of pure enjoyment and curiosity, and I'm grateful that it's now my full-time gig.
Well, when you said, I mean, the cutthroat, I'm assuming that it didn't really go that well in Manhattan. Is that correct?
Manhattan has because Manhattan is old money, and a lot of the it's not like there's an incredible supply like you would have in Nevada or Arizona, right? Where a builder can buy a bunch of lands and keep building, which is why Manhattan historically everything's got up like in story wise rather than like being vast. New York has a very old money approach to real estate. So it's usually you do really well if you're extremely cutthroat and, you're stealing deals, you're going out for leads, you're door knocking, you're doing all that. Or you grew up in a family where you maybe have a very wealthy network and you can be a realtor to your father's business partner. And it kind of grows that way. So I've seen both tracks. I think at the time I was very young. And because I didn't have any family in real estate and I was still kind of learning what I liked to do, and a part of me still wanted to experience school. I think I was 1 foot in and 1 foot out at the time, but it still remains an influence in my life.
Was there, because I mean, there's sometimes that people go down a path and maybe they don't succeed, and sometimes they blame it on themselves. It seems, and other times they blame on the process, the system, and they never even want to get back into that space later on. Was there any kind of thought about that later on, or is it just because it's two different trajectories, it really didn't matter? Or how did you look at that?
Oh, totally. I think I went to like a Kevin O'Leary speech maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and I'm like, it was for house flipping. It was something related to that. And I remember being like, I don't know if this is me. Like, I love real estate, but I thought maybe I'd get into like investing myself, maybe design of property. I've always liked architecture. But it was I never thought like I'm going to own I'm going to be a partner at a real estate fund. And that is my life. Yeah.
What now? You said you had brought the partner on. I mean, what was the partner? Did they sell you on the idea, or was it a mutual thing kind of coming together, brainstorming, or how did that partnership come about?
So my business partner, his name is Steve. We are very symbiotic. So he was working at Facebook, also Silicon Valley, and he also had his own trajectory of investing in real estate. And I think he was really curious about Airbnbs, but at the time he wasn't as heavily active as I was. So in terms of roles, he acts as more of the head of finance. He leads all of our investor relations and capital raising. I focus on the operational part of our business. So hiring, infrastructure, the remodeling, project managers, that shit show. So, I mean, how we met is still very relative to our roles right now. And I think we both had a really good understanding of what real estate meant for us and where we were at the time, being investors already. And we wanted to offer the same back to a similar group of people, right? Friends and family, people that we worked with, people who also have that curiosity to invest. But because Airbnb is so lucrative but messy at the same time and time consuming, that's kind of how we found our niche.
You kind of relay the defined roles that each of you have. Was that something that was self-realized? Was it something agreed upon before you guys started? I mean, the defined roles is always an interesting thing when you have partnerships, because it seems like, at least if there's an overlap, sometimes it can get a little hostile. With you guys, it seems like you have defined roles. How did that come about?
That's a funny question, because it was so not defined in the beginning. I think in the beginning we didn't have our software, so we were cherry picking markets and underwriting each house, and the market was so strange. It was COVID. It was like, well, do we make an offer over asking? Do we play it under? There were so many critical, decisive moments that needed to be made by both of us at the time in the beginning. And then I think we raised $8 million in our first 2 weeks. And we were like, okay, someone needs to own operations, right? And because I had been doing that, not only in my tech career, Airpods was my niche of product at Apple. And so I was a project manager at the time. I was already managing hundreds of people and logistics and supply chain and everything. So it fell natural to me. And we both were so committed to this being successful, considering that we were leaving our jobs. So we just divided and conquered, and it became very clear where we needed to pivot.
Did you have a number in mind of when you would actually look to leave your jobs, or was it, we got to do this aside and we'll just kind of make the plunge? And what did it look like when you left your jobs?
I always joke around that our business found us.
Okay.
I mean, we were intentional with it, but we were okay with going slow, being intentional, making the right choices. We were okay with that. But I think it got to a point where it was chaotic in the best way. And it needed us to be fully operational and fully on board. So I think it was more of a hey, this is what's happening, and like we have faith in this, and we're just going to go and do it.
What now? You kind of talked about it before about you had your own journey of the Airbnb space. Your coworkers at Apple were asking you for advice. Now, sometimes the question of asking for advice and actually investing with you can be kind of a funky situation. What was that process like of going, hey, you know what? I have a company now. If you want to invest in us, we can help you out, but I can't give you as much advice maybe in the past.
That actually happened quite a bit towards the end, and it was a hard position for me to be in. And there were some times where I did help people because I think there's a lot of value, and also if they're friends, right? Like there's some people like your best friend might not invest with you, but if they're going to buy a house, you can help them out. So there was a gray area there for a little bit. But I've had investors / friends that don't invest with us that were asking me to find them homes in the same markets that we were buying in. And I was like, hey, at this point, this is like, it's my fiduciary duty to owe the fund the best of interest. Like I can't help you. So there was definitely a line drawn at some point.
Did you lose any friends because of this?
Not really. Not like, anything dramatic in that sense, but it was like, oh, she's not helping us anymore kind of thing. Yeah. It's always tough.
Well, I mean, talking about tough roads, I mean, what was the biggest hurdle you've had to go through in building this business and brand?
The hardest thing for both of us was not the raising of capital. It was the allocation of it and the operations. I always joke around with people. I'm like, name one house flipping company that's nationwide. Name one. Otherwise, everyone would use them, right? Yeah. Especially if they're not luxury or they're not like a wide scale developer or builder. I'm talking about investor friendly, flipping companies or contractors that are also licensed, insured, that are legally vetted. It's so different when you flip your own house. You're like, okay, I'll just do the flooring, or I'll just hire this guy who like said he could do it. And then it's different when you own a fund, right? And you're doing this in 9 different markets. And that's actually exactly what I do. That's my role. So hiring people, putting faith in other people, coaching, training, onboarding. I think at one point last year, because I was so committed to quality in our homes, I was on a plane 3 times a month visiting houses in horrendous weather conditions, right? Like snow, -7 degrees, just to make sure that things were okay. Now we're big enough as a company, we've scaled where we have really great people on the ground, and we trust that process. And we also have a lot of process. We have checklists and checkpoints for things, and we have software that automates all that kind of stuff. So, but that I think I was working some crazy hours, maybe like 15, 18-hour days for about 6 or 7 months. We just, with money, you have to allocate it. You have to put it in certain places, and you also have to make the right decisions doing that. So, I mean, welcome to the life of owning a business, right? It was chaotic.
Does that play into the algorithm where it's like we're already in this market, so our costs are going to go down? If we're going to a new market, it has to be a killer deal. Does that play in the algorithm that you guys are purchasing?
So we can play around with certain numbers that we find relevant to us. So for example, like economies of scale, we have that in some markets. Like we have some contractors who cut us really good deals because they've done 12 houses for us in 3 or 4 months. So I think that's also a benefit of our fund, right? Because we're doing economies of scale, we just have some benefit in terms of like who we work with, the deals that we get, the volume in which we do things at, the speed. So yes, but in terms of, that being factored into the algorithm, but that took a while for us to get there.
When you talked about basically finding the right people and hiring the right people and getting them on board, I'm assuming there was probably some hiccups in maybe hiring the wrong person 1 or 2 times. Did that happen in the earlier stages?
Absolutely. And what the thing is, it's as a business owner, it's always your fault, right? A lot of the times in the beginning, you don't know what you're hiring for because you don't know what you need, even though what you think you might need may seem really logical, like, oh, it's in front of me, this is a problem. But you also don't know where your business is going, right?
Mm.
Like I didn't know, I thought I needed someone to help me with one project, not 7.
Yeah.
So also they're in that journey with you, and as a leader, trying to understand what you need, hiring for that need, and then being able to project, I think is hard, especially in startups. So yeah, we did hire some people that didn't work out. But I think that it was known between both parties. And obviously everything's very, amicable to this day.
Well, what does that process look now based off of um, learning from, I guess, previous mistakes? How do you, because there's people listening right now that maybe are looking to get their floor done or do construction around their house or on an investment property, but there's so much information and so many different people out there. I mean, is there any steps that you guys take to find the right people these days?
Absolutely. I mean, thank God for the internet, first of all. Especially when because I think there's hurdles, right? I mean, there are literally books that are written about investing out of state, and there are books that are written about investing in your backyard. 2 completely different things. I mean, obviously, we look for good reviews, we look for pictures, we look for referrals. We're always checking on licenses and insurance and all that good stuff. Even with that, though, I think you can have that and it could still not be a good fit. For example, one of the markets that we invest in is a mountain market, and a lot of those houses were built in the 1800s. And so a lot of the contractors of that area specialize in the restoration of like historic homes, which doesn't really help us. I don't want to spend $10,000 on restoring a staircase. I would rather spend it on games or hot tubs or amenities for people to use in houses. So I think there's also doing your vetting of that person, but also making sure that you're aligned from a business perspective, because they're a business too, right? On how they make money. Yeah. And if they don't care about making money on volume, which is what we offer, maybe they care about, refurbishing a $3 million Quaker home, right? And that's not what we invest in. So I think values, in understanding values across people and businesses, designers, vendors, is really important.
So find out kind of what they're looking to accomplish before you kind of bring them on, and then kind of come to an agreement on what you want done.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
This company, it's grown so rapidly over the last, couple of years. Where do you see the growth potential? Where do you see yourself and the company in the next 5 years?
The next 5 years. So I think when you build a business publicly and also this rapidly, you have goals in the beginning. Our goals have actually never changed. We've tried a lot of different things while scaling our fund and moving forward. I think right now we're at a place where we're very focused. We know what works. We know what we're good at. We've built systems in place. For example, raising more capital. We've defined what our product looks like. I mean, there are people who do apart hotels. There are people who own condos. We own primarily 3 to 6 bedroom homes. That's our bread and butter. We have a quality for each of our homes. We order the same bed linens. We have the same games in our homes. There's an expectation. And we've actually seen that in our customer base and our guests. We've had people say, hey, we stayed in your home in the Poconos, and now we're staying in one in Scottsdale, and now we're staying in one in Tampa. So it's nice to see that being reciprocated from our customer base, that they find a solid product that we've built on. So I think it's continuing that. Obviously, there's continuous improvement. No one's owned an Airbnb for 50 years. So what does that look like? And really, really expanding our market reach as well. So I think doubling down on what we're good at and enjoying the journey.
Do you ever perceive a future where you take on the rentals in-house instead of going through Airbnb or VRBO?
We've entertained the thought of it, and it's something that's still kind of in the back of our mind right now, primarily from like a risk perspective. I think everyone remembers in 2020, Airbnb's like all of a sudden lights were out during COVID, and like a lot of those people lost a lot of money. We do have some direct bookings right now. It comes from friends, referrals, people that find us on social media. But I think that is a different approach rather than what we're working on right now. It requires ad spend, website, direct booking platform. So we've entertained it, but it's not a main focus right now.
Sabrina, if someone's listening right now and they're looking to invest, and I mean, if you guys have time, go in the show notes. You're going to see their website for Techvestors, and you can kind of see all the breakdown. But if someone's looking to invest, I mean, is the website the best way of getting more information, or what's the best avenue?
Absolutely. The website's the best way to find us. We are investing some time into content the next couple of weeks. So you'll see us pop up there on LinkedIn, on an email newsletter, on Twitter. But for right now, the best spot is our website.
With the push that's coming, the intentions of it just to get on another round of purchases, or what are the plans?
I think we've built in private by accident. We were just really focused, and Sif and I just haven't had the time to like really talk about our journey and like what's been going on. But I think a lot of people are curious. People are like, "Hey, you guys raised 22 million in 11 months. Like, how is that possible? How did you do it? How did you renovate 65 homes in a year? Right? That's like a home and a half a week." So I think we're understanding that people are curious, and I think content is fun for both him and I, and it also allows people to understand who we are as a company and also as people. So it's more of a genuine approach rather than anything else.
Well, thank you again, Sabrina. I'm going to finish on one last question. Is there any advice you would have given to your 22-year-old self in Manhattan for she could have been successful at real estate in that funky market that you're in?
I say stay persistent and stay curious. I think that's actually something I've always carried in my entire life, not only in that moment, but I think persistence is key. I think you will have a lot of people tell you no, and we had I've had a lot of people in my life tell me no to a lot of different things, and I still remained curious and focused. And then obviously being curious, I think curiosity leads to a lot of different perspectives, answers. You'll find yourself in the most unexpected places being the most fulfilled if you're curious.
Well, again, thank you so much, Sabrina. I think for everyone listening right now, I mean, I think there's so many key takeaways, but one of the big ones is follow your passion. Follow your passion. People are going to want it. They're going to see that and come to you for questions before you know it. I mean, that can lead to a business, lead career, and you could explode like Sabrina has. Thank you, guys. Please subscribe. Please share. And go look at Tech Investors. Bye, everyone.